evening. So thrilled to have all of you with us today. I'm Aishwarya. I'd like to start off by saying a little bit about Dan Utsav. Dan Utsav, or the Joy of Giving Week, happens annually between October 2nd and October 8th every year. Globally, the elderly have been having a difficult time due to the pandemic. This includes experiences of feeling excluded, tired, lonely, neglect, being away from their loved ones, difficulties coping with adaptation to technology, anxiety, depression, etc. The City of Dreams, which is otherwise buzzing with activities for people with all age groups, seems to have taken a heavy toll on the elderly, quite unfortunately. To break away from this rather glum situation and continue with the true spirit of joy of giving, Mumbai First has curated the Week of Joy for the elderly. This week, we had some artists, wellness coaches, nutritionists, mental health professions, and also doctors come forward to spread smiles for the elderly. The goal of these vibrant virtual sessions has been to spread joy, smiles, and lots of cheer for the elderly. Mumbai First today is collaborating with Graceful Living and would like to start off by introducing the two organizations. Mumbai First is a not for profit think tank which aims at making Mumbai a better place to live, work, and invest in. As a catalyst between industry and government, Mumbai First has in the last 25 years been working relentlessly towards its vision of transforming the Mumbai metropolitan region into a world class city for its citizens and the most preferred destination for business. The chairman, Ms. Narinder Nair, the CEO, Dr. Neville Mehta, and the entire Mumbai First team join me in welcoming all of you present here today. Graceful Living is a joint initiative of Jaslok Hospital and Research Center and Tulsi Trust. Jaslok Hospital and Tulsi Trust came together with a holistic approach to support senior citizens and prepare a plan to implement its objectives. While the hospital handles medical investigations, Tulsi Trust complements it with social, recreational activities, and entertainment. A venture of this nature is well poised to achieve the aims of the founders of Jaslok Hospital and Tulsi Trust, which is no person should be left unattended for want of medical care and personal well being. With that, I would like to welcome a very, very special person joining us today, Dr. Nagnath Narsimhan Prem. Dr. N. Prem completed his MBBS from MGM Medical College, Aurangabad, and did his MD in Geriatric Medicine from Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, Kochi. His senior residency was the Department of Geriatric Medicine, AIMS, New Delhi, and he continued working there as an assistant professor. He has many years of experience in the field of geriatrics. Dr. Prem's primary objective is to establish a strong framework for holistic elderly care through comprehensive multidisciplinary assessment and interdisciplinary interventions at the hospital, home, and in the community. He is passionate about teaching and doing research to provide the elderly the best evidence based care. He has organized various international conferences. His areas of interest include the geriatric syndromes, dementia, urinary incontinence, orthogeriatrics, perioperative care for the elderly, and community geriatrics. Dr. Prem is a member of the Indian Academy of Geriatrics, British Geriatric Society, and the American Geriatric Society. He is one of the founding members of the research wing of the Indian Academy of Geriatrics. Dr. Prem, welcome. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot for that introduction, Aishwarya. And it's a great honor to be on this platform with Mumbai Trust and of Mumbai First, and of course Graceful Living. The word trust came in immediately because it's natural. I would say, as a part of Dan Utsav, which I think is one of the very great initiatives which has been taken up, and I of course commend Mumbai First for the same. So today I am not going to be talking very much too much of medical, but of course I am a medical person by heart, so I'll be trying to give the everybody here some an outlook, brief outlook on memory, and
Hmm.
of course how you can improve it, what is bad. So in between, I might just shuttle to certain slides. But
Sure.
as I go, I would just want to start off right away.
Great.
Uh,
Over to you, Dr. Prem.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So as I was saying, I want to talk something about memory. Before we go into the basics, what is bad for your memory is something you should always know. You might say that almost everything seems to be bad. Yes, too much of salt, too much of food, too much of sugar, loneliness, lack of exercise, foods which are actually high in artificial trans fats, lack of sleep, smoking, lack of sunlight, alcohol, then contaminated environments, which could be internal, external, processed foods, and not enough water. So these are things which are actually bad for your brain. Now, why is the memory so important? The memory is important because that is all consolidation of whatever has happened, and you try to recollect it, and you obviously make it a framework throughout. Like, for example, for older adults, it's a framework which has happened throughout their lives. So it could be positive instances, negative instances. It could be instances which hurt them. It could be instances which actually give them great pleasure. So that's what happens as far as older adults are concerned. But when things about memory loss happens, then is when it starts worrying an older person. And what would be when you feel actually there's a memory loss? So when to seek help is usually a sort of question which always comes ahead. One is, of course, forgetting how to carry out your routine tasks. Routine tasks can be very simple. Asking the same questions repeatedly, getting lost in a familiar area, not remembering the names of your loved ones, difficulty saying or remembering specific words or names. Now, a lot of older adults here would be like, Arey, but this happens with me anyways. So, does that mean I'm actually having a real serious memory loss, or the D word, which we don't try to use initially? We try to use something known as cognitive impairment, and then ultimately, of course, dementia. So, yeah, let me at the outset clear that off as well. See, there is also normal age related memory changes, and there are changes which would be suggestive of you actually having memory loss. Now, if you're able to function independently and pursue your normal activities, despite having an occasional memory lapse, for example, you're just forgetting certain things, then it comes back to you. So, that is not actually suggestive of cognitive impairment. But if you have difficulty in performing simple tasks, forgetting how to do things that you have done so many times in the past, then of course that can pertain. Maybe it is actually an issue with memory loss. Now, able to recall and describe incidents of forgetfulness. That will always be there if you actually have an intact memory. But if you don't, then you're not really able to recall. You just describe certain specific instances, and that's about it. You might pause to remember directions. It's much natural as you get older, but you don't really get lost in familiar places. Whereas if it is actually pertaining to memory loss, then you will get lost, disoriented sometimes in familiar places, not able to follow directions, and you will get really confused. Then normal age-related changes can also include occasionally difficulty finding the right word, but no trouble actually holding a conversation. So that word will come out, and then you're like you can actually have a conversation. But as far as the memory loss is concerned, you will frequently forget, words will be misused, they might be repetitive. In normal age related changes, your judgment and decision making ability will always be intact. So you will be able to judge situations, you'll be able to make decisions. But when you actually have memory loss, then it becomes difficult to for you to actually make choices. Then poor judgment or socially inappropriate behavior can also be there. Now that is about just sharing a few slides initially. I would get back to certain slides later. So as far as how to improve your memory is concerned, I think that is something which is something you always want to know, and that is something which I always would like to inculcate as well. See, a strong memory depends on how healthy and I mean how healthy and vitality of your brain is there. Now, if you remember when you were actually a student, studying for your exams, or maybe you are a working professional, all you can do to mentally stop is basically enhance your gray matter as you age. So you can do a lot to improve. Now, if you remember something when you actually, I mean, when you were younger, and you also tell maybe your grandchildren, and you must have told your children, one day before the examination, we also always used to say that no, you should sleep well. So this is where the consolidation of memory actually happens. So I'll come to that. Now, the human brain is actually a great thing. It has an astonishing ability to actually adapt and change. So it adapts and changes, and even changes into as far as the old age is concerned. So this is known as neuroplasticity. So if you stimulate the brain in the right way, it can form new neural pathways, so more connections, and then adapt. And again, it will be reacting in ever changing ways as well. So this is very important only and holds true only when it comes to learning and memory. So you need to harness this particular power, you need to do certain things. Now, the first step, of course, would be please give your brain a workout. You have to. I mean, the brain becomes very bored. It's got like muscular strength, it requires you to use it or lose it. So, the more you work on your brain, the better it will be that you'll be able to process and remember information. So, how do you do that? See, you have to do boosting activities like one is it teaches you something new. So no matter how intellectually demanding the activity is, if it's something that you're already good at, then it's not a very good brain exercise. To strengthen your brain, you need to keep learning and develop new skills. Then it has to be challenging. I mean, it has to demand your full and close attention. It is not just enough that it is challenging at one point. So it has to be challenging, giving you some mental effort. For example, learning a challenging new piece of music counts, and playing a different piece which you have not memorized already. So then when you do that, the brain actually gets stimulated more. Then a skill that you can build on. So you try to have skills which you can later actually build on to, and you can increase your level of comfort as you go ahead. Then rewards. Rewarding the brain is very, very important as far as the learning process is concerned. The more interested and engaged you obviously are in the activity, the more likely that you are going to continue to do it. So choose activities which are not only challenging, but they should be enjoying and they should be satisfying for you. Now it could be anything. For example, it could be learning to how to play an instrument, maybe a guitar, maybe pottery, poetry, trying to play chess, getting a new language. They all can improve your memory, but you should feel challenged and engaged. So that's why training is very important. We keep harboring about how mentally you should be fit, but for good brain health, you need to have good amount of physical exercise. Now, physical exercise will always help you to your brain to stay sharp. It increases oxygen to your brain and reduces the risk for disorders like memory loss, like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. You have to remember, you have to take care of these diseases. Exercise also helps in making helpful brain chemicals, and ultimately it will help you in reducing your stress hormones. Now, what are the brain boosting exercise tips? One is aerobic exercise. So choose activities that keep your blood pumping. Does it take longer time for you to get out when you wake up? So sometimes what happens is it is also said, why don't you exercise in the morning? It just keeps you a bit fit throughout your day. Physical activities which will help in having a right hand-eye coordination, and also using your hand muscle and all will actually be beneficial for your brain building. Then exercise breaks, we always keep thinking, no, we should exercise and then we take breaks in between. But there is also something known as when you are continuously sitting, we are having mental fatigue, we are having slumps. Even a short walk around can actually be good enough to reboot your brain. So you have to remember one thing, and one thing which is very, very important is you should not be sedentary and you should not be sitting. So that is very important as far as brain health is also concerned. So something which is always talked about and it is very essential in every age and even more so when you get older is sleep. Now the amount of sleep and the quality of sleep. Now if the amount of sleep might be changing as you get older, but the quality still matters. Things like lesser you sleep, things like memory, creativity, your actual way of solving problems, and your thinking skills will all be compromised. So sleep is very, very important as far as you are concerned. So try to get on a regular sleep schedule. Go to bed at ideally the same time, get up at the same time. Even on holidays, sometimes we just see why don't we linger around, we sleep for more time on weekends and holidays. No, once the brain is trained and you have a good sleep schedule, that is very good. At any age, I would say avoid all kinds of screens, at least in the night. The blue light which is emitted from the TVs, the tablets, phones, they don't really sort of help in uh, increasing your sleep. They trigger wakefulness, and they suppress the hormones like melatonin, which will actually make you sleep. Then things like caffeine. Caffeine affects people differently. Some are very highly sensitive, but some need it for sleeps. But a lot of times it actually interferes with sleep. So try to cut down on the amount of caffeine. Now, what is important is friends, family, relationships. Now, to improve memory, try to do things which you actually enjoy with people who matter. Now, healthy relationships are always very important for the brain. As you know, all humans are social animals, and health itself is defined as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being. So nobody sort of thrives in isolation. So relationships stimulate our brains, and they obviously help us in a better way. So to they are not only vital for our emotional health, but also for our brain health. That's why researchers have found out the most active social lives had the most lowest rate of memory decline. So even in now, that's why such platforms online, you should just be continue to be socially active, continue to be in touch with all your friends, whether it's through WhatsApp, whether it's through video, whether it's through Zoom, any platform, whether it's to call, try to do the same thing that you used to do earlier. I mean, fine, you used to go to the park and then you used to meet always, maybe. Just try, or maybe in the club. Now try to meet at one time on the online platform, try to discuss your day to day activities and try to keep yourself stimulated. Now, there are a lot of ways you can actually take advantage of your brain in socializing. You can actually join any club, even online clubs like reading clubs. Then the value of a pet is also being said to be very, very good. Then there is always something which bothers a lot and it is not good for the brain, and that is stress. Now, stress has always been one of the brain's worst activities, I mean, enemies, and over time, as you get more and more stressed, it destroys brain cells and it obviously damages the regions which causes new memories. So, please try to have tips which help you in managing stress. One is try to always set realistic expectations with whatever in life. And the best part with older adults is that they have experienced so much in life. So it's not that they haven't. And they know how to deal with situations, but try to take breaks throughout the day. Express your feelings. Never try to bottle them up. If you're still working, which is great because I don't think age is just a number, and you if you're still working, that is very good. But still try to have that balance between the work and leisure time. Try to focus on one task at a time and complete properly rather than trying to multitask. Now, how do you do stress busting? Now, stress busting can be done through a lot of ways. Do things which give you peace. It is a mental peace. It could be meditation, which actually helps in improving focus, concentration, creativity, memory, learning, and reasoning skills. It could be just something which gives you, I mean, take a break, just something that gives you that mental break. It could be anything like maybe yoga, meditation, songs, music, whatever takes you to that particular zone where you're actually relaxed. That will obviously help in decreasing stress and ultimately improving your memory. Now, it's always said that laughter is best medicine, and yes, it holds a very important key for brain and memory as well. Now, there are a lot of ways that you can actually laugh. It could be on jokes, it could be with people. Don't be hard on yourself. Like laugh at yourself, share your embarrassing moments. Best way to make yourself talk less seriously about it and to look forward to the future rather than just harboring on what has happened wrong in the past. When you hear laughter, try to move towards it. So basically, you should be having all kinds of happy people around you. The happier people around you, the more happy you are. Then try to spend time with people who give you that happiness. Surround yourself with small reminders to lighten up. It could be a computer screensaver, it could be photos which are actually funny, where you actually had fun with your family, with your friends. That just gives you a smile and gives you a laughter. Now, one of the best ways of actually getting that smile and when you look at them is, of course, your grandchildren, and when your children were there, those memories, the way they play, the way they take life lightly, the innocence. So all those things would really sort of ring a very positive bell in your mind, and it would help you in taking life more lightly and ultimately laughing even more. Now, it's important that you take a brain boosting diet. Now, just as the body needs fuel, so does the brain. So you need to have a diet which has fruits, vegetables, healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, fish. And if you're not eating meat, then no problems. You can have things like, I mean, fish is a particularly a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids, which is beneficial for brain health. If you're not a fan of seafood, as I said, try to have walnuts, try to have spinach, broccoli, soya beans. Try to please limit your calories and saturated fat. So it's very important that, because more saturated fats, more calories you have, more there is a risk of dementia. Then try to eat more fruits and vegetables because they have antioxidants and they obviously help in arresting memory decline. Then a lot of research also says that even green tea to an extent helps in have free radicals. I mean, have antioxidants which stop free radicals from damaging your brains. Then have juices like grape juice, of course, in moderation, which is also cranberry juice, fresh grapes, peanuts. These are all things which actually help in reducing the risk of memory decline. Now, another very important thing is please identify and treat your health problems. Remember, memory is not something which will just decline that. If there is a health or a lifestyle problem to blame for it, then we need to know about it. Things like heart disease and its risk factors, like cardiovascular disease, including high blood pressure, then cholesterol, these are all linked to uh, brain loss. I mean, loss of memory. And diabetes. People who have more uncontrolled diabetes, there's also a chance of greater decline with memory. Then hormonal imbalance. Now that is there, of course, low testosterone, low estrogen. Then thyroid imbalances. One of the most common causes, and one of the most common causes of irreversible uh, memory loss is thyroid imbalance. That is, it can cause forgetfulness, sluggish thinking, or even confusion. Now, another thing that is very rampant in older adults is medications. Now, a lot of medications can maybe confuse you. It could be prescription medications or it could be over the counter medications, which usually get into the way of your memory and clear thinking. Now, common culprits would be antidepressants. You should always talk to your doctor about your medications always, because it's very easy for you to neglect the medications. If you have doubts about it, please ask. Don't just take your medications, because medication side effects can also to an extent cause a decline in the memory. Now, another thing which is often can be with memory loss, or it could also be uh, I mean, a direct differential or a direct thing which we take into account along with memory loss is depression. Now, depression and emotional difficulties can actually have a heavy toll on your brain. So things like mental sluggishness, difficulty in concentration, and even forgetfulness could be there in depression. So it could be very bad. It could be very bad in older adults because a lot of older adults would not express the fact that they are depressed as well. So it is very important that if there is depression, then you actually go to your healthcare provider, because depression is something which is reversible, is treatable, and you should be able to uh, confess and even tell about your problems, because then only that can be treated. Now, practical tips which can help in supporting learning and memory is also very important. Let me be frank. Age, as I've told you before, age is a number. There is no age for learning. So you should try to learn new things, learn a new skill, learn a new language, challenge yourself. Do not think that this cannot be done or this can be done. No, it might take more time, but the brain is, the more you try to give it a challenge, the better it is. So pay attention. You can't remember all the things. So you can't learn something and then you can forget it. So you need to be more smart in actually trying to learn things. Now try to give yourself time. You should not just I'm very sure that older adults always would try to take more organized way into actually doing things, because that's the way they are. Involve as many senses as possible. Try to maybe relate information through colors, textures, smells, tastes. Physical act of rewriting information is very, very important. That's why we always say, if you're thinking that you're actually forgetting things, please write it down in a diary. I mean, keep writing it, that this has to be done, that has to be done. And if you're able to do it, then it will help you in imprinting that information in your brain, and it will stay with you. If you want to recite it rhythmically, even better, then you will be able to see, you'll be able to actually use more senses. Now, relate an information which you already know. So maybe connect whatever you're getting to know with already something you remember. If there is a complex material, try to break it down. Then rehearse your information if needed. And of course, there is things known as mnemonics, which you might or might not need. Now, there is often something known as memory aids. Memory aids are something which would help an older adult to actually refocus their memory. So why not? Things like calendars. Now, if you're not working, days can just roll back and it can you can actually forget. But if you have a calendar, a date which is displaying the clock, a diary which can actually tell you, so they will actually help you in memorizing things, even if, for example, you're not wanting to do it. So it will be training your brain. Following the news, please follow it, yes, but follow the news that is relevant, and that will also help you in consolidating things in your brain. Lists, as I told you, lists are very important, because a lot of times older adults tend to forget when there is too many things or complex instructions. So through lists, you can actually make a list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you want to do, and you can actually tick them off. So the list can be really helpful as a memory aid, especially, for example, if you're older adults who want to do things like shopping, whether it's online shopping as well. Then positioning of information, like, for example, try to keep things always in the same place so that you remember. If you want to put sticky notes, if you want to put tags, fine. For example, don't put the the keys one day in one area and the other day in another area. And then you can also put some sticky notes. So when you're putting that, also try to keep those important telephone numbers which are in your, for example, it could be your doctors, it could be your children's, it could be your neighbors, which are in actually in your front, so that you get constantly reminded of that, even if you don't want to get reminded. For example, you're not trying to learn it, but you can see it. Managing your medications, that's why we say things like pill dispensers, things like, you should know what exactly you're eating. So if it is labeled right, compartments, for example, this is the morning medication, this is for diabetes, this is for hypertension, if you have a lot of diseases. Then, as I told you earlier, use color, use pictures. They are a good pictorial reminder. For example, kitchen cupboards, which is there in which sort of cupboard, you can actually have color coding and you can remember. Routines, if you have a very good routine and you follow that routine, that itself can be a very good memory, I mean, that itself can be something in a loop, a very good memory kind of stimulator. Then things like timers and apps. I'm very sure more and more elderly have become more and more tech savvy as far as this particular uh, time is concerned. A lot of people are already tech savvy. So things like alarms, things like timers, mobile phones can actually help you in doubling up as a memory aid. I would say do not only store in the mobile phone, because a lot of times what happens if that gets deleted, that you will not sort of remember. So try to have two places where you can actually sort of remember. Then try to improve your focus, and it becomes sort of an important memory aid. Then people who actually have memory problems, things like trackers will actually help, and this would obviously be more for the caregivers, where they will be able to track where they are and what sort of situation they are actually undergoing or they are actually seeing. So that is also, I think, something which is uh, very important. Now, just I would just want to go back to my slides and just try to highlight certain things before we can sort of end. Yeah. So puzzles. Now puzzles like crosswords, like sliding puzzles, like even Sudoku, even Rubik's Cube. Now that has been shown actually to stimulate your brain. Then learning a new skill, as I said, it strengthens the connections in your brain, improves your self-esteem, which is so important, I feel, as you at any age, of course, even more so as you get older, improves your ability to cope with stress and improves your memory. Now reading, of course, now maybe you might say that not everybody is reading the newspaper in as in paper in physically, but yeah, news online is very important. Try to read from sites, try to keep yourself updated. So it can actually increase empathy, it can improve your brain connectivity, it reduces stress, reduces the symptoms of depression, and reduces the risk of dementia. Most importantly, news and a lot of things which you can connect will help in providing mental stimulation and also help in reducing the risk of dementia. Then play, as I said, is not only for kids, it is for older adults as well, because it helps in developing and improving social skills. So now I would say, even if you are at home and you can do your normal exercise, normal playing, you should do it. It helps, it's a source of relaxation, it helps in relieving stress, it will stimulate your mind, and of course it will boost your imagination and creativity. Then physical exercise. Now physical exercise is something which can never be avoided, and it's very important. It improves your mood, it improves your sleep, gets you focused, concentrating, helps in sharpening your short-term memory, helps in sharpening your long-term memory, and it will also help in overcoming your depression. Then music. Now, music can really sort of be, I mean, enlightening and uplifting. It can lift your mood, it can increase your productivity, it helps in decreasing depression, reduces the chronic stress, helps in decreasing anxiety, it can motivate you. I mean, the type of music is absolutely uh, related to what you would like. It can reduce even memory decline, and enhances focus and concentration, and stimulates the brain hormone oxytocin, that makes you more generous and trustworthy as well. Now, yoga also helps in improving focus. Yoga meditation decreases anxiety, improves your mood, eliminates negativity, increases neuroplasticity, as I told you, and decreases stress. Now, learning a new language, again, it will help in enhancing your focus, concentration, positively affects your memory, can also help to an extent to increase brain size and connectivity, may delay the onset of the dreaded Alzheimer's and dementia, and may lower the risk of developing memory problems. Now, even crafts. Now, as I told you, crafts are very important. It helps in stimulating a neurological system. It can improve your mood, reduces stress and anxiety. It helps in improving your concentration. It can reduce the risk of dementia, can regulate your emotions, and also helps in improving what is known as self-efficacy. So I would say in what is most important for a memory is try to give yourself a chance to actually preserve what you have and to improve as well, because ultimately I think that's what sort of matters the most, because you need to sort of preserve the memory you have. Try to make sure that you adapt to maybe even little bit amount of memory failings which might be actually happening. Our job, of course, my job as a geriatrician, is to help you to see whether your memory is actually preserved and try to preserve it in the same way in the long term. I would just say, I mean, it's not a word of caution. I would just say if you're actually having memory issues, always try to get yourself tested. The tests are not very complicated. Try to get yourself tested. And once the testing is done and you are obviously free of the fact that no, I really do not have any dangerous memory loss or memory loss which can be the dreaded dementias, then it gives you a sort of a mental satisfaction as well. And at the same time, if we do discover something, the earlier the better. So when we discover it earlier, we will be able to sort of uh, take care of it. Of course, this would be a multidisciplinary sort of thing wherein a geriatrician, a neurologist, and even a neuropsychologist might be needed, wherein we do detailed memory testing if we find something in the preliminary. And then, of course, investigations of blood, which are very simply can be done. Then another thing which I would like to stress upon is please don't think that just because you're losing memory means everything is Alzheimer's. It's not. Everything is not Alzheimer's. Every memory loss is not the dreaded dementias. So there are also reversible causes like thyroid issues, then vitamin B12 deficiency, folic acid deficiency. Then these things can be treated, and uh, your memory can be made okay. So please don't feel that just because you're actually tending to forget things, you tend to just forget everything, and there is going to be no improvement. As I said, focus on the memory aids, try to improve your memory in that way. And remember, I will just before I end, I would just want to add one thing about people who are actually taking care of people who have memory issues, the caregivers. Now try to adjust to them the way they are, because that's because of obviously the memory issues they have. Try to be flexible. Most important, I would say, is that don't be hard on yourself, try to get help as well. So there are support groups for caregivers of who are taking care of patients who are having cognitive impairment. Give yourself a break, take care of your health, because it's always important that you do not get so stressed taking care of a person with memory loss that you are not able to take care of them in an optimum way. So it's very important that you take care of yourself as well. And we, as I mean older adults who have normal memory, uh, can actually help in preserving our own memory and also helping those who actually have memory issues. So try to help them, try to motivate them in the best possible way, especially the caregivers. Then, if as older adults you have any memory issues, please get in touch with your healthcare providers so that they can take earlier sort of earlier sort of a decision on it, whether you actually need to do anything in particular about it. So overall, try to take care of your memory. Memory is something which is very vital. Try to sleep well. Try to have a good life, a social network. I mean, even in these times, try to be in touch with everybody, your friends, your family, uh, and everything. Do everything that gives you happiness. Have your hobbies, continue those. Try to learn newer ones. Try to obviously stay safe at this present, but try to make way of whatever time you have now, because this time might not come back. Then another very important thing that I would like to stress upon is that you as older adults have seen life. Draw inspiration from your own life to try to get over all these, I mean this particular time, and this will also pass, because you must have undergone a lot, whereas it's physical issues, mental issues, family, friends, and you have overcome that. So try to overcome all these times through that, and try to stay safe and try to be alert and try to keep building new connections and building new memories. So thanks a lot for your patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Prem. That was great. I think that was a very interesting mix of, I wouldn't say tips and advice alone. I thought it was very useful information on many things that are very relevant right now, given the move to digital devices and so much of the increased reliance on them during this time, especially
This time.
that affects sleep, which has really been quite a problem for many. And of course, the focus on a very healthy lifestyle and the importance of it, and of course, spending a lot more time with family and loved ones. And so, I'd like to begin the next section by really going into some of the comments, very interesting questions that have come in. Would it be okay for us to go through some of them now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Prajesh has a very interesting question. He says, as family members living full time with older members, it's really difficult to notice the stages of memory loss. So, what
Okay.
signs do you look for as normal age related memory loss, and when would I approach a doctor?
Yeah, so I would just want to maybe just put up that slide again so that
Yeah,
so that it becomes easier. But yeah, as far as the as far as memory loss is concerned, yeah, so normal aging. One. Yeah, as far as normal aging is concerned, just to help out the person who's asked the question. Yeah, so if you see this, this is, I mean, if you the person has the ability to function independently and pursue normal activities,
yeah,
then able to recall and describe incidents of when they actually forgot, may pause to remember directions, occasional difficulty finding the right word, no trouble, and judgment and decision making abilities intact, you don't really need to sort of worry. It could be a part of normal aging as well. But when to seek help is when you actually forget how to carry out routine tasks, ask the same questions repeatedly, getting lost in a familiar area, not remembering the names of your loved ones, and difficulty in saying or remembering specific words and names. So, when these things are happening again and again, then you as a caregiver might realize it's more earlier as compared to the older adult. So then you need to definitely sort of seek help, try to test and see whether what the cause is, and then of course the treatment would be according to what we find.
yeah. Another person, very related question in terms of whom to seek advice from, as in what age or at what point in life do I switch from my general physician to a geriatric specialist?
Okay. Basically, as far as the geriatrician is concerned, I mean, geriatricians look at people above 60 years of age, which is purely because the retirement age is sort of that in India.
Hmm.
World over, it's actually divided into young old, middle old, and old old, in
Yeah.
which uh, in which it is around 60 to 64, 65 to 74 is actually middle old, and more
Hmm.
than 75 is actually old old. Now, as we see in India, we are trying to make policies of less than 75 and more than 75 as well.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I would say that above 60 is where a geriatrician sort of really comes in,
Hmm.
and the difference between a geriatrician and the other physician would be that the holistic care, which is sort of given a continuum of care. I would say
Hmm.
that it's a care from that particular age till, to be very frank, till you are here. So it's like a
Hmm.
continuum of care, and
Hmm.
in not only one domain but in multiple domains.
Yeah. It's true. Thank you. That was a very useful response. It's very interesting. I think also there's a question which specifically asks about adults who have mild memory loss due to dilation of ventricles and cisterns. Would you be able to tell us a little about that? How would you be able to help older adults with this problem?
Okay, if you're talking about the dilatation of the ventricles, and it is actually, if it increases a
Hmm.
lot, then there is something known as normal pressure hydrocephalus as well. So, in which the sort of the ventricles increase in size, and in
Hmm.
normal aging also sometimes the everything sort of shrinks. So, it's not
Hmm.
necessary that if we find something on an MRI and we cannot correlate it, or the CT, and we cannot correlate it with the particular testing. So I would say that if we can correlate some memory loss with that, then it's significant. As far as
Hmm.
normal pressure hydrocephalus is concerned, you will obviously need a neurosurgeon as
Hmm.
well to actually sort of tackle that.
Yeah.
In which people will actually have three things. One is memory loss, second is imbalance, and the
Hmm.
third thing is losing control on your own urine, which is known as urinary incontinence.
Yeah. Could you speak a little about that? Because I think a lot of elder people, especially given, travel and all these things, would you be able to guide them with that problem? It's something which they're not very comfortable sharing with others and, seeking help. Could you help a little bit about those things as well?
See, urinary incontinence is actually quite embarrassing, purely because it has got a lot of causes, and the most important cause, which is mistaken by the older adult, is that it is actually a part of normal aging. It's not. Just because
Hmm.
you're older doesn't mean you lose control on your urine.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of women especially have lose control when they're coughing, sneezing. This is
Yeah.
because when you're coughing, sneezing, what happens is the intra-abdominal pressure, it increases, and then you might, the sphincters, which become much looser as you get older, because the abdominal muscles undergo a lot of risk. One is through pregnancies, it could be because of the loss of hormones, so
Yeah.
they become weaker. So that is another cause. In males, of course, it is prostate issues, which is very commonly sort of where the older adult will have to go again and again, and
Hmm.
after, and there will be just little urine going, but then passing again and again, that will be there. Now, travel, I would always say that tell older adults to decrease the amount of water that they are taking if they're
Hmm.
traveling, because then more frequently they will have to actually go. In the
Hmm.
nights, a lot of older adults have to get up to pass
Hmm.
urine. So
Hmm.
after 6 p.m., limit the amount of fluids that you're taking, so that
Okay.
you do not have to push your bladder to actually go again and again in the night, because nights are the times which are notorious to have falls also. We have had older adults falling on their own urine. So
Oh,
that is something that we would never want to happen.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
another thing which is there is functional incontinence, in which the older adult is just not ready to go urine anywhere else. So that it has to be in familiar surroundings like home, and
Yeah.
of course the bladder has got capacity. So in
Hmm.
that particular time, the older adult will not be able to go, and then the obviously there might be an incontinence.
Hmm.
Then a lot of old, I mean, we had done a study when I was in AIMS where we had asked older people whether you would prefer diapers. Now they
Yeah.
said that we would prefer adult diapers if you think it's right. So that was actually a very interesting sort of answer, because
Hmm.
diapers are always sort of connected with younger people, children. But if it gives them that independence, then it
Yeah.
shouldn't be thought about as a taboo. That's what I'm trying to stress. There are
Yeah.
also pants these days, pants which actually
Hmm.
soak in the urine if you are not able to control it. So that that quality of life is maintained. Or else the older adults stop going out, isolation, depression, and then it's
Hmm.
like, what do I do? So
Yeah.
urinary incontinence can really put them down mentally as well, because they are like, when will I, when if I get wet suddenly, then people start laughing, and a lot of issues are there. So
Yeah.
that's why it has to be handled very carefully. And there is
Absolutely.
always a cause. There is always a cause, so the cause has to be found out.
Yeah. What is the typical, like, I mean, whom do I go to advice for? Like, if I would, like, the first people you go, you notice the signs, what are the possible immediate reasons or causes for this problem?
I mean, it could be as good as an infection also. A lot of times, a urinary
Hmm.
infection can also trigger an older adult, which is very common in older adults.
Hmm. Hmm.
Trigger an infection, the passing of the urine again and again. So it depends, of course. If you're having a urinary infection, you go to your pediatrician or physician, and if needed, a urologist obviously can be involved, because if there is an active case of maybe surgery or you will need to do something, then of course the urologist will have to be involved. And also in females, a gynecologist opinion should be taken.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody has also asked a question about, does alternative medicine play a role in aging normally?
Now, I would say I cannot say directly if alternative medicine has a role in playing. We always talk about complementary and alternative medicine in older adults. We try to be flexible, but
Hmm.
that doesn't mean, because I am, to be very frank, I am a doctor who practices modern medicine, but I every medicine has its perks. But the interaction that might happen between all these medicines actually being taken at the same time is what I'm worried, because we need research in which both the medicines are taken at the same time, and that interaction can be a problem. But yeah,
Hmm.
as they say, natural remedies, like things which we have been inculcated, like haldi, and a lot
Hmm.
of other things like you can say even lemon juice, even lemon ginger. All these things have been inculcated since young age. So it's not that it's a new thing. Things for constipation, which is again very something very distressing to an older person. So all those
Yeah.
things have been inculcated. So I believe that it's very important that we can take help, but we should know what we are. For example, if you're not sure about what you are eating, then you shouldn't take. You should actually ask your doctor and then only take.
Yeah, yeah. A very, very important thing that I wanted to discuss was also about sleeping pills, like, and the reliance on sleeping pills. People just self-medicate very often or do it without consultation. Can you
No,
tell us
so that
about
self-medication should never happen. According to me, sleeping pills are something which are very sort of which can be a big issue if you
Hmm.
take it yourself, because especially older adults, if you take a more dose, you might actually be very drowsy the next day, and it becomes very difficult for you to actually get out of the side effects. And when we
Yeah,
also start to tell all the side effects, and then we sort of tend to get that into the picture. So remember, if you're reliant on sleeping pills to sleep, it's not very bad. It doesn't, a small dose will not cause you a problem, but don't take it yourself. If at all it has to be started, it has to be by a health practitioner. Do not take
hmm.
it yourself because it has side effects.
Very true. Uh, there was a question about brain exercises, if I'm not wrong. What are good tips and some easy exercises for brain for older adults?
Yeah, so I think the next session will answer most of it, brain gym.
Yeah,
So you will
all
have to
right,
stay tuned.
sure. Great. So, would there be anything else you'd like to share with us now, Dr. Prem? Anything
No,
more
I would
special?
say, I mean, just for an end note, I would like to say is that even in this particular paradigm, we obviously are thinking how things are going to go ahead. But try to love yourself more, because this is the time you have the time to love yourself more. Try to do things, try to learn new skills, both the elders and caregivers. And if you're getting a chance to live together, then that's
Hmm.
great, because a lot of people are not getting a chance to see their parents because of what social distancing. I just
Yeah,
want to make sure that social distancing, physical distancing is good, but make sure you are not socially isolated. Be in touch with people, and yeah, preserve your memory. That's the mantra. Yeah.
that's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Perfect.
joining us for all those
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
inputs.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. So, that brings us to the end of the first session for today. Coming up next is a very, very interesting session as well. I'd like to now introduce Ms. Amrita Lavkar Rupa, Project Coordinator and Gerontologist, Graceful Living. Ms. Amrita has worked with senior citizens for the past 14 years in three countries, namely the United States, the UK, and India. She has done a master's in gerontology from Keele University, UK, and her master's degree in social work from India. She has worked with the Surrey County Council to understand the variety of services provided by the UK government to seniors. She's also participated in an exchange program on gerontology conducted by the Council for International Programs, United States. In India, Amrita has extensive training experience, which includes training of professionals, caregivers, senior citizens, and school children. She has worked as a visiting lecturer with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences on their diploma course on gerontology. She is associated as a consultant trainer with the Resource and Training Center for Older People of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment at Bandra. Amrita has worked with several organizations for the elderly, where the focus was to create an awareness on gerontological issues and provide need based services for seniors. She has conducted more than 80 workshops with various associations, organizations, schools, and colleges on older people issues. Without further ado, it gives me immense pleasure to invite her onto this virtual platform. Hi, Amrita, can you hear us? Camera seems to be switched off, I think, but we can hear you because your mic is on. Amrita? All right. While we fix that, I'd like to share screen and show you an AV on Mumbai First. We're back. I'd like to now introduce and welcome Miss Amrita on this virtual platform. We're glad to have her here with us.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you, Sunil. So happy to have you here with
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. And thank you
us.
so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So I've not told them anything about your session. I've only told them about you, of course. but we've not
Okay.
discussed what we're going to do. So you might want to tell
Okay.
them it yourself directly. Yeah?
Okay. So basically, I'm going to talk about a topic called brain gym, and
Hmm.
I will be demonstrating some exercises. And I hope all of you will do them with me.
Great, great. So let's begin. So can we start? You want me to start with the PPT directly?
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, so basically, exercising our brains. We generally think that exercising our body is important, but we don't give so much of importance to exercising our brains. And we know that we have a lot of billions of nerve cells in our brain. And unless and until we try and exercise, and unless and until we try and build some kind of a network between those brain cells, our brain is not going to get exercised. So, for keeping our brains healthy, we have to indulge in some kind of meaningful mental effort and stimulation on a regular basis. So, like our body needs exercise, our brains also need exercise. And we know that the brain is the most important organ of our body, and it controls the entire body. So, exercising our brain is also extremely important. The second reason is why should we exercise our brains? So secondly, it helps us expand our memory capacity also. Okay, so that is why also it is important. And the third important thing is it postpones cognitive decline. So it postpones the onset of symptoms and helps us to lead healthier lives for a longer period of time. So that is why, along with exercising our body, it is extremely important to exercise our brains also. And and the last slide please. And along with exercising our body, if we have something which will help us exercise our brains as well, then that is the combination of both of them. So we are trying to look at brain gym, which is a combination of physical exercise and mental exercise. Okay, so what is brain gym? Okay, so brain gym is a series of movements done with the intention to wake up the brain and stimulate brain function. And it is also designed to strengthen the relationship between the body and the mind. Okay, so this was basically devised and the next slide please. Okay, so it was basically devised and developed by Paul and Gail Dennison from the US in the 1960s. And this was developed as a part of educational kinesiology. Okay, so kinesiology is the science of movement and non movement. Okay, so basically, human and non human movement. Okay, so the third thing is how can it help? And this brain gym has a series of 26 exercises which we can do on a daily basis. Okay, so and I'm going to demonstrate those exercises to you, and you can either do those exercises with me, or you can do them later as well, but at least you can see what is involved in that. Okay, so basically these exercises, these brain gym exercises, activities are done in around 80 countries of the world, and it is done by professionals in business, it is done by performing athletes, it is done in performing arts, and it is widely popular. Okay, so how can it help older adults? Okay, so the first purpose why we should be doing them is that it helps us in mobility and coordination. Okay, and once you see the exercises you will come to know. Second is, as I said, memory and concentration. So physical exercise also and mental exercise also, it helps us in learning new skills faster and easier. So basically this can be done with children, this can be done with adolescents, this can be done with middle aged people, and this can be done with older adults as well. Okay, so we know that older adults have a lot of mood swings. They might feel happy at one moment, or they might feel elated, or they might feel sad. So it helps us in regulation of moods also. Another important reason is that it enhances cognition. Okay, it helps us to think better. Okay, it helps us to release the old patterns that we constantly, patterns like rumination, Okay, so patterns like, thinking about the same thing again and again. So it helps us in thinking better. The next important reason is that it helps us improve our energy levels. Okay, so if we are feeling fatigued, if we are feeling tired, then it helps us to improve our energy levels. And because of all this, it helps us in improving our overall well-being also. Okay, so these are the various advantages which are there for brain gym. Okay, so it has been proven that it brings about a perceptible and meaningful improvement. Okay, so research has proven. Okay, so now we come to the exercises. So what are these exercises? And we will do them one by one. Okay, the earlier slide, please. Yeah, yeah, the next one. The next one, please. Okay, so the very first. Okay, so the advantage of one of the advantages of doing this brain gym is that it strengthens, okay, the neurological pathways, that may not be exercised. Okay, so we know that we have the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. So basically, brain gym helps us in connecting both of these. The activities maybe that we do on a daily basis might not activate both the hemispheres of the brain, and that is why these brain gym exercises are extremely important. Okay, so it will help in strengthening the left and right brain activities. It also strengthens neural pathways, and it improves the coordination between the body and the mind, and that is why it is very important. It is not widely done in India, but it is done widely in a lot of other countries, and it is something that we must utilize and something we must take advantage of if we want to keep our minds and brains healthy. Okay, so the very first exercises, and I'm going to go slowly. Okay, so basically, this is through movement. And when we are actually doing some kind of a movement, we are forced to pay attention. We are forced to, be in the present. And that is the advantages. That is the advantage of doing these physical exercises. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to take these first three, four fingers, and you have to keep it under your collarbone. Okay. And you have to lightly massage it. Okay, so this is under the collarbone where we wear the collarbone. Okay, so we lightly massage it. So one hand is here with these three fingers lightly massaging the collarbone, and the other hand is on the belly. So lightly massaging the belly. Okay, okay, so you have to lightly massage the collarbone underneath the collarbone, and you are also rubbing your belly. Okay, so you have to do this for 2 minutes. Okay, and you can see the difference. You can basically see what you feel. Okay, I hope this is understood. So as I said, I'm just going to repeat once again that you have to take these three, four fingers. You have to put them underneath your collarbone out here. Okay, and you have to massage your belly. Okay, and you have to do that very slowly. Okay, and you'd have to do that for around 2 minutes. Okay, so basically, what is the advantage of doing this? I mean, research says that it helps us in massaging the carotid artery for more blood flow to the brain. And we know that in old age, blood flow to the brain might get decreased, and that is why doing such kind of exercises is extremely important. Okay, so the first exercise in the brain gym series of movements was brain buttons. Okay, so I hope you have got that exercise. Okay, so we'll do the next one. Okay. Okay, so the earlier one, okay, it was just a demonstration. Okay, so can you just show it closely, please? Can you show it closely? Can you highlight it? Yeah, a little bit bigger, please. Okay, so as you can see, their fingers are underneath the collarbone and their hands, the other hand is on the belly. Okay, and they are gradually massaging the belly as well as these three fingers. So you can clearly see in this picture. Okay, okay, so that is what is brain button. Okay, the next exercise, please. Okay, so this is brain button. Okay, and the next one is cross crawl. Okay, so this is also quite interesting. And as it says that this exercise helps in coordinating the right and the left hemispheres of the brain. Okay, and it also helps in information flow between the two hemispheres, and it is also very important when you want to actually learn something, read something. Okay, and when you want to memorize it. Okay, generally we feel that in old age learning is not important. Okay, but lifelong learning, they say, is one of the most important ways in which you can keep in which you can keep diseases like Alzheimer's at bay. Okay, so learning something is extremely important. And when you learn something, the connections between the nerve cells in your brain get activated, and that results in your brain becoming more healthy. Okay, so lifelong learning is extremely important. But lifelong learning, we feel that after the age of 60, 65, what is the need to learn? And generally, even in society, people generally do not encourage people to learn after the age of 60 and 70. That is gradually changing. But I'll just give you a small example of this lady, how it is changing. And this cover story had come in Outlook magazine, and this was regarding a lady called Bokul Chatterjee. Okay, so she was around 87. Okay, around 87 years of age, and this lady was giving her first year BA exam. 87 years of age, and she said that she had not earlier completed her BA. She wanted to study, but her family members did not allow her to study, and that is why she wanted to die only after taking her BA certificate. Okay, so lifelong learning is extremely important. Okay, so as I said, the second thing is the cross crawl. Okay, so you have to take, so if you can see me, the right elbow has to touch. You can either do this standing or you can do this sitting. Okay, so the right elbow has to touch the left knee. Okay, so you can do it standing or you can do it sitting, and the left elbow has to touch the right knee. Okay, so the right elbow has to touch the left knee, and the left elbow has to touch the right knee. Okay, is there a need to do it again? You can do it sitting also, in a sitting position also. So the right elbow has to touch the left knee. You can lift it up like this. You can lift your leg and you can touch the right elbow to the left knee, and you take the second hand, this elbow, you have to touch it to the right knee. Lift it up, okay, and let it touch it. Okay, okay, and you can do this around 10 times. Okay, with both the hands. Okay, so this is what is called the cross crawl. Okay, that is the second exercise which is there. Okay, now the third one is called, see, actually this is a series of 26 movements, so that might not be possible. But if you are interested, I can certainly we can have either another session, or maybe I can give you a write up on this. Okay, so the third important exercise in a brain gym is hookups. Okay, so this works well for nerves before a test or a special event such as making a speech. So any situation which will cause nervousness calls for a few hookups to calm the mind and improve the concentration. So basically, if you're getting scared, anxious, hesitating, not ready to do new things, so then this helps us to calm our mind, and it helps us to calm helps us to calm our mind and our anxiety also. Okay, so you have to stand or sit, whatever is convenient for you. The legs, you have to cross the right leg over the left ankle. Okay, so as we see Krishna Bhagwan, as he when he is playing the flute, Okay, so you have to cross the right leg over the left ankle. Okay, and you have to take your right wrist. Okay, so you take your right wrist, cross it over to the left. You have to link up the fingers, and you have to put it keep it tight, so that the right wrist is on top, and you have to get it near the chest bone. Okay, near your chest. Okay, can you see this? Okay, so I took these two fingers of both the hands, interlocked them, and then I got it near the chest. Okay, and the ankles are crossed. Okay, right leg over the left ankle. Okay, and immediately you will feel a sense of calm and your anxiety reducing. Okay, so we'll try and do this once again. Take your hands right in front. Okay, cross them. Okay, interlock the fingers, and then get your fingers near your chest bone. Okay, and your ankles are crossed. Okay, again you do this for 2 minutes. Okay, so I can also see myself coming down. So this exercise is extremely useful when you have to do something that you're scared of, or maybe you're anxious about. Okay, so this is extremely necessary. Okay, so if you can just get this closer, please, because this girl is demonstrating the exercise as well. Okay, so you see the ankles are crossed, and this person is taking his hands near the chest. Okay, so that's why hookups are extremely important. Okay, and while doing this, your breathing has to be normal. You have to breathe in and out, so it has to be normal. Okay, so this is hookups. First, what we saw was brain buttons. Then the second exercise which we saw was cross crawl, and the third exercise which we saw was hookups. Okay, now we'll go on to the fourth one. Okay, so which is names in the air. So this sounds rather interesting. The name sounds rather interesting, and this can be used for learning anything that you find important. Okay, so this can be used with children. This can be used with adolescents. It can be used with older adults. Maybe if you want to write something that's extremely important. Maybe if you want to write something that you want to memorize. You can write anything that you want. Okay, so basically what you have to do is with your hand we write our first name. So my first name is Amruta. Okay, so I'm going to write my name in the. So this is AMRUTA. Okay, so I have written my name in the air. Okay, now you have to again come back. Okay, so you have to go backwards as well. Okay, so AMRUTA. Okay, so basically, if you want to memorize something that's extremely important, this is very useful. If you do that 10 times, there is a greater likelihood that you will remember whatever you write. Okay, so this is generally used in a lot of classes and for students as well. But older adults can also use it. Okay, so generally, older adults complain or talk a lot about losing memory, but generally it is said that if you basically try and memorize or maybe repeat whatever you want to remember, you will not forget it. Okay, so that is why if you take great effort in remembering something, there is greater likelihood that you will remember it. And in gerontology, that is, gerontology is the holistic study of aging. We say that there is something called the self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, when it comes to the memory. Now, what is a self-fulfilling prophecy when it comes to the memory? We say that maybe after the age of 50 or 60, we feel that we are going to lose our memory, or we won't be able to remember things so much, and that is why we tend to forget, because we tell ourselves. Okay, so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so whatever you tell yourself, it will come true. So I tell myself, okay, my memory is going to go bad. I won't be able to remember things, and that is what happens exactly. I'll give you another example. Through Graceful Living, where we provide comprehensive medical as well as social services for older adults. We have support group meetings. We used to have support group meetings in Jesloke Hospital, but now because of the lockdown situation, we are doing all the meetings online. So there was this gentleman around, I think, 70 years of age, and this person, after the age of 70, he decided to do his diploma in gerontology from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Okay, so at the age of, I think, 70 to 73, he used to travel all the way from Kandivali to, you might be knowing that Tata Institute is in Devnar. So all the way he used to travel, and he did his diploma in gerontology, and he also got the gold medal. Okay, now this person, when he had come for a support group meeting, and we had a series of talks by senior citizens regarding how they are keeping themselves mentally and physically active, he had said that at the age of 70, he said that I had told myself that I am not going to fall ill. Okay, and that he had repeated to himself that I am not going to fall ill. I am going to do proper exercise, physical and mental, and I'm going to take proper care of myself, and I'm going to see that I do not get defeated by any kind of sickness. Okay, and he's around 78, and recently we had organized an essay competition for seniors, for which we got a tremendous response. So for the essay competition, we had two topics. So one was regarding the positive changes that you have seen in the lockdown, and the second topic was how can the status of senior citizens be improved. So we had these topics, and this senior citizen who was there, he helped us tremendously in organizing all the essays. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that memory loss, okay, we generally tell ourselves, and that is what happens. So in gerontology we say that memory loss is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so names in the air, and they generally say that you can write whatever you want. Okay, so whatever you feel is important, you can write that in the air, and you will be able to remember it better. The key to uh, this memory loss, this problem that is there, is to actually repeat and revise things. And generally it is said that things that you consider to be extremely important, there is less likelihood that you will forget that. Whatever is very important for you, generally you will always remember it. And I will give you this example of this philosopher called Cicero. I'm sure you must have heard the name. So Cicero was a very, very noted philosopher, and he wrote a lot about old age. And Cicero had said that an older person will never forget where he has kept his wealth. Okay, because wealth is so important. If he buries it somewhere, he is not going to forget, okay, where he has kept it, because it's so important. Okay, so whatever you think is important, and if you take efforts to memorize it, revise it, keep on repeating it, then there is less chance that you are going to forget. Okay, so can you just make it a bit bigger, please? Okay, so as I said, the names in the air, it has other advantages also. Like left and right brain activity helps establish directionality and orientation in space. It can be a fun way of practicing spelling, previewing, reviewing keywords, or maybe team building. Okay, and they also have a variation which says that you can write your names forwards, then you can come backwards, and you can do it with your eyes closed as well. Okay, so whatever you want, you can remember. If you do it 10 times, I'm sure you'll be able to remember it better. Okay. Okay. So now the next, this is lazy eights. Okay, so this is also quite an interesting exercise. So with one arm extended in front of you and your thumb pointing upwards, trace the shape. So you have to do it sideways. Okay, so you have to trace the shape of 8 sideways. Okay, and you have to look at the thumb. Okay, so I am drawing the number 8 with the help of my thumb. You have to look at the thumb, the tip of the thumb, and you have to draw the number 8. Okay, I hope you have got that. Okay, so I'll just do it once again. You have to take the thumb and you have to look at the thumb when you're actually drawing the number 8, and you have to do it sideways. Okay. Okay, so can I go back to the presentation? Okay, so with one arm extended in front of you and your thumb pointing upwards, trace the shape of number 8 in the air. The 8 should be on its side, as I said, sideways. Okay, so large, slow movements, and focus your eyes on the tip of the thumb. Okay, so without moving your head, you have to trace it 3 times in successively large movements. Okay, and then you do it with the other hand. Okay, so this is lazy eights. The next one, please. Okay, so you see this person has also done it sideways. Okay, so lazy eights. Okay, so the first exercise which we saw, I'm just trying to also revise at the same time before going on to the next one. So the first one is brain buttons, which we saw. The second one is cross scroll. The third is hookups. The fourth is name in the air, and the fifth one which we saw is lazy eights. Okay. Okay. Now this is another interesting exercise. So you have to gently rub your hand in a circle on your tummy, on your belly. Okay, and you have to pat your head at the same time, and more or less at a similar pace. So I am patting my head and I am rubbing my belly at the same time. It's not as easy as it seems. Okay, when you actually do it, you will come to know. Okay, now you can swap your hands. Okay, so take the other hand and pat your head, and you can massage. Okay, so it is said, that this activity connects the right and the left brain. Okay, and it helps us in paying attention to whatever we want to. So maybe if I've been thinking about some things which I don't want to think about right now, and if I have to focus on a particular thing, then it helps me to maybe do away with that and pay attention to whatever I want to at this point of time. Okay, so this activity connects the left and the right brain, and it focuses attention and take your mind off whatever was preoccupying it beforehand. Okay, so Rubadub, that's the name of the exercise. Okay, so it's called Rubadub. Okay, the next one is, I hope you have got this. Okay, and the next interesting exercise is alphabet edit. Okay, so alphabet edit is also extremely useful. Okay, and it's a useful activity for clearing the mind of any baggage brought to the classroom that may be getting in the way of learning. It involves reading aloud the letters of the alphabet from beginning to the end or end to the beginning. Can we take the next one, please? It's a variation of alphabet edit. The next slide. The next slide, please. Okay. So with this, no, the earlier one. Earlier one, please. Okay. The next one, please. The L and the R. Yeah, the next one. Yes, yes, yes. Please stop here. Okay. So the alphabet edit involves the reading of the letters of the alphabet aloud as a class or maybe a small group while completing the accompanying action. Okay, so if I say L, you have to raise the you have to raise the left hand. If I say R, you have to raise the right hand. And if I say T, both the arms have to be together. Okay, so if I say L, the left hand. If I say R, the right hand. And if I say T, both the arms together. Okay, so L, R, T, L, R, T, L, R, T. Okay, so because I'm not able to see you, we cannot do it together, but you can do this. And there is a series of letters which have been given. Okay, so and you have to pay attention to the L, to the R, and the T. Okay, so this is quite an interesting activity to do. Okay, so basically alphabet connects the left and the right brain, and it also helps in hand eye coordination and will improve the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic ability. Okay, so that is why these exercises are extremely important, because they help us in exercising the brains as well. Okay, so body and the mind. Okay, so this is just they are showing the left and the right side of the brain. Okay, so the left brain functions are analytical thought, logic, language, reasoning, science and maths, written information, and numbers. Okay, and the right brain functions involves art awareness, creativity, imagination, intuition, insight, holistic thought, music awareness, 3D forms, and left hand control. Okay, so basically what we are saying is that generally with whatever activities we do on a daily basis, it does not give so much of exercise to the brain. Okay, and that is why exercises like brain gym are extremely important. And now with technology, with so much of advancement in the technology, quite a few things are automated. Okay, so that is why it is not necessary for us to actually exercise our brain. And unless and until we try and do something to exercise our brains, they are not going to get exercised automatically. We know that some effort has to be taken while doing physical exercise, but some effort has to be taken while doing the mental exercise also. Okay, so basically at Graceful Living we have this it's an activity which we do, which we called intellectual companionship. Okay, where we go to people's homes. Okay, now it is not possible in this lockdown situation, which is unlocking gradually, but we generally go to people's homes, and now it is taking place online. And we generally assess the needs of that older adult, and we conduct activities with them based on the person's needs and based on the person's interests. Okay, and one thing which we do is cognitive exercises. Okay, so cognitive exercises are extremely important. And generally, unless and until there is something wrong with the brain, we generally do not think of exercising. Okay, so but that should not be the case. Through learning something new, and through learning something challenging, our brains can be exercised. Okay, if I do something that that I've been doing for years. Okay, so my brain is not going to get exercised. Okay, so I have to do something that is new to to new for myself also. Okay, so I'm not so good at drawing. Okay, so I need to take that up, something which is challenging, and that helps us in exercising the brain. Then we say that learning a new language, or learning a musical instrument also helps us in exercising the brain in an excellent way. Okay, so and another this is I recently had heard Dr. Charles Pinto, who's a psychiatrist and who practices at Holy Family Hospital. So he had given some tips, regarding how you can exercise your brain. Okay. So he said that we have to try and go a little out of the comfort zone. Okay. So every time he said you make a list of activities which you do and you try and do them differently. Okay, so how are we going to do that differently? Okay, so if you every day we have a bath. Okay, so maybe if you have a mug, if you take a bath with a mug, if you always do that with the right hand, then you try and take your bath with the left hand. Okay, so another this he said that if you always write with the right hand, you try and write with the left hand. Okay, so whatever you do, usually with one hand, you try and do that with your non-dominant hand. Okay, and when you do something that is different, it is definitely going to challenge the brain. Another example, which he had given was newspapers. Okay, so we read newspapers daily. So he had said that you can take the newspaper and we read it straight, but he said that you must try sometimes, and you must read it ulta also. Okay, so that there is more strain in reading the words and the whatever content is there. Okay, so basically what he's trying to say, but don't do that for a longer time, otherwise people will think that there is something wrong. Okay, but so basically what they are saying is that some kind of strenuous activity, strenuous, not very strenuous, but um, mildly strenuous activity has to be given to the brain for it to get exercised. Okay, so that is why exercising the brain is also extremely important. And along with that, exercising the brain, exercising the body, and one more important thing in aging is, what is your attitude towards aging? What is your attitude? If your attitude towards aging is positive, there is greater likelihood that you will be able to age successfully. If you have a negative attitude towards aging, then there is a likelihood that you will not be able to you will feel that aging is a burden. Okay, so I have been working with older adults for around 14-15 years now. And my grandfather always used to say that aging is a curse. So he used to say कि बुढ़ापा एक बीमारी है and एक शाप है. So I always used to feel bad, and I used to feel that my grandfather, maybe who is in a relatively good position, if he is saying something like that, then what of people maybe who are not in such a good position. So basically, in gerontology, we say that along with these exercises, mind exercises, brain exercises, physical exercises, one of the most important things which will lead to successful aging is your attitude. Okay, and research has proved time and again that people who look at aging negatively will live for 7.5 years lesser than people who have positive attitude towards aging. Okay, so a lot of research has also been done on successful aging, and maybe another session we can, we can talk about that. But I'll just give you three important things. There was a research which was done on people, on around 1,000 people who were aging successfully. Okay, and they tried to find out what are the common characteristics, okay, between these 1,000 people. Okay, and they came up with three things. Okay, and what are these three things? Okay, so the very first thing is that all these people, all older adults, because that is the technically correct name that we use for older people, older adults. So all these older adults firstly had a never give up attitude. Okay, so not being defeated. Okay, so all of them had the never give up attitude. Okay, the second thing is all of them helped others. Okay, all of them did something beyond themselves. Okay, they felt that helping others is extremely important. So what they tried to do is, whatever experience I have as an older adult, I mean, all older adults have a lot of experience. And in Chinese language, there is a proverb which says that when an older person dies, a library, it is as if a library has been shut down or it has been burned. Okay, so whatever experience you have, we need to utilize that for others. And when you do that, you will feel a great sense of well-being, a great sense of satisfaction which comes from helping others. So all these people, 1,000 people, were doing something for others. Okay, so I'll just tell you a share which is related to this. कि रहने दे आसमान जमीन की तलाश कर, रहने दे आसमान जमीन की तलाश कर, सब कुछ यही है कहीं और न तलाश कर, सब कुछ यही है कहीं और न तलाश कर, हर आरज़ू पूरी हो जाए, हर आरज़ू पूरी हो जाए तो जीने का क्या मज़ा, ज़िंदगी जीने के लिए बस एक खूबसूरत वजह की तलाश कर. Okay, so if you have a purpose, if you have that, some reason to live. Okay, because in old age there has to be some reason to live, otherwise just getting up, reading the newspaper, seeing the television, again going back to sleep. But if there is some kind of a purpose in life, okay, it helps you to age successfully. Okay, so as I said, the first thing was to have the never give up attitude. The second characteristic which all these 1,000 people shared was that they were doing something for others. And the third important thing is all of them had some kind of a spiritual inclination. Okay, so thinking that maybe there is something beyond us, okay, which is helping us to which is helping us in our lives. Okay, so these three things are extremely important. And related to the first this, I'd just like to end with a poem, and then maybe if you have any questions, I'll take that. So as I said, have the never give up attitude. Okay, so that is extremely important. And in old age we feel, ये सब करने की अभी क्या जरूरत है, what is the need, why should I do all this. But unless and until you persevere, unless and until you stick to the task at hand, okay, things will not get done. And this is what happens in old age, we generally tend to give up. Okay, and that is what we should guard ourselves against. And I think this poem can help in doing that. And it says, लहरों से डरकर नौका पार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चलती है, चढ़ती दीवारों पर 100 बार फिसलती है, मन का विश्वास रगों में साहस भरता है, चढ़कर गिरना गिरकर चढ़ना न अखरता है, मेहनत उसकी बेकार हर बार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, डुबकियां सिंधु में गोताखोर लगाता है, जा जाकर खाली हाथ लौट कर आता है, मिलते न सहज ही मोती गहरे पानी में, बढ़ता दूना विश्वास इसी है रानी में, मुट्ठी उसकी खाली हर बार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, असफलता एक चुनौती है, स्वीकार करो, क्या कमी रह गई देखो और सुधार करो, जब तक न सफल हो नींद चैन को त्यागो तुम, संघर्ष का मैदान छोड़ मत भागो तुम, कुछ किए बिना ही जय जयकार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. I thank you very much for listening to me so patiently. Thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll take that now. Hello, Aishwarya, are you here? Okay, so till Aishwarya comes on the screen, I think she's trying to. So today we did brain gym exercises.
I'm here now. That was
Good.
great. That was a lovely session. And I think those exercises, of course, that's just a small segment of what you actually do. That's probably about how many exercises we do. We do six today.
Six,
Yeah.
yes.
So there are
And there
about
are
20 more.
26.
So is the rest of it up on your website under the resources section or something like that? Can people go back there and look at it?
Yeah, maybe if you want, I can share the presentation with you.
Okay, okay, great. I mean, because this would be great. Like, I'm sure this is good for today's session, but I'm sure they want to try out some of the others as well.
Right, right. Yeah.
Well, the poem was really beautiful. It was really, really lovely. And I think I also really like the fact that other than attitude and purpose, what I seem to really get through the exercise is the idea that you challenge yourself, right? And that is not, other than older adults, I think that is true for all age groups, that it's really important to get out of your comfort zone and try out something else, like especially with instruments and with languages. It's not something that really comes to you very easily always. So
Right,
that's a very interesting point there as
right.
well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the graceful living programs and the activities that you guys do for people who have not, heard of it before?
Okay, so Graceful Living is an initiative of the Tulsi Trust, and one of our primary associates is Jaslok Hospital. So the
Hmm.
main purpose of Graceful Living is to help older adults to live meaningful and productive lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we provide medical as well as social services. So under medical services, as you have seen Dr. Prem talking before me, so he looks into the medical part. So basically, what he does is he does a comprehensive geriatric assessment. Okay. So
Okay.
which includes looking into the physical aspects, mental aspects, emotional aspects, social aspects,
Hmm.
and the social aspects include that we as I said, we do intellectual companionship. Okay, so for people maybe who feel lonely, or maybe for people who want to talk, who want to share whatever is in their mind. So we generally do intellectual companionship. So we assess their needs,
Hmm.
their interests, and we then kind of customize the activities based on their interest. And we do these individual sessions also, and we do group sessions also, individual as well as group. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we do a lot of sessions on social issues related to older adults. Okay, so why lifelong learning is important, which is what I included. So why successful aging is important, and there's a lot of research which has been done on successful aging. The people might not know about. There are books and books which have been written about successful aging. And if
Yeah.
I am not going to die, if I do not die because of an accident, or if I do not die because of an illness, I am definitely going to grow old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I need to prepare for my old age.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of people after the age of 60, 70, after they experience the emptiness syndrome, as we call in psychology, after that they start thinking, अरे अभी मुझे क्या करना है, अभी मैं क्या करूँ? I'm feeling totally lost. But if
Yeah.
you if you think about things that are unfinished, if you think about things, your hobbies, whatever you want to do, you might not be able to do in your earlier life. If you do
Hmm.
that later, then at least you are clear, and then you can start pursuing that. As I
Yeah.
give you an example of this Gokul Chatterjee, that lady, she knew right from the beginning that what she wanted to do in life was to, complete her BA. And she did
Yeah.
that. Can you imagine at the age of 87? So this
Yeah.
lady could not hear properly. This lady could not hear properly. This lady could not see properly. And the class in which she was sitting, her fellow students were 70 years younger to her. So she faced a lot of opposition because her story had come in Outlook magazine. She faced a lot of
Wow.
opposition. People discouraged her a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
she persevered. So she was
Yeah.
determined that
Yeah.
she will do it. So this kind of determination is extremely important. And you can mostly what happens is, Aishwarya, that people generally think about what we cannot do in old age.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
our emphasis is to convey to them that we have to focus on what you can do in old age. We have to focus on that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
The other, I think, a very interesting place that we hear a lot from about aging and aging gracefully is Japan. Is there something that you would have heard about this that you'd like to share with us today?
Okay, so there is a very just recently I was talking about this book called Ikigai. Okay, so
Hmm.
which is a Japanese concept which says
Hmm.
that having some kind of a purpose in life is extremely important. Okay,
Yeah.
and in that book they have done a series of experiments regarding what are the characteristics of these people.
Hmm.
Okay, and what kind of food they eat, what kind of diet they have, what kind of physical exercise they do, what kind of mental exercise they do. So
Yeah.
all these things have been recorded. I think it was a bestseller. It was a
Yeah. Yeah.
Ikigai
I
was a
really
bestseller.
like that book. Yeah. There's
Yeah,
also
yeah, so it's a
hmm.
beautiful book.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a book called Zen. I think that also had a couple of things similarly. But Ikigai was
Right.
really beautiful. Somebody seems to have a question about diapers. Would that be something you have time for? Just a quick question on: is it safe and good to have older adults for diapers? Like, I mean, what are the precautionary things? What are the infections they're susceptible to? Is it all right? You know, like Dr. Prem had shared briefly that it's a lot to do with the mental blocks that to move to diapers, and how in terms of a lot of people are still in the process of making that transition, right? Like, not very okay with that idea, but is it safe and is all right?
Yeah, I think the kind of diapers that you get now in recent times, I think they're extremely safe. And this problem, is not there just here. It is there in the Western countries also. I mean, people
Hmm.
are reluctant to wear diapers out there as well. Okay,
Hmm.
so basically, I think maybe for the first 4 5 times you might feel that this is something that is totally uncomfortable. But once you
Yeah.
start doing it slowly, you do get used to it. And I'll just share this experience. I was working in a nursing home in the UK. I did my master's in gerontology from the UK, and then
Yeah.
I was working in a nursing home. So this lady had Alzheimer's. Okay, and she was wandering, in that home. She was in the nursing home, and the sad part was that this lady was taken to her home. She was a
Hmm.
Punjabi. She was taken to her home by her children only when their Indian relatives used to come. Otherwise, she was in the nursing home. Just to show people that we have kept our, mother along with us. Okay,
Oh wow.
so this lady was totally heartbroken. She didn't know what to do. There was
Hmm.
no proper diagnosis. And with this lady, it was just 2 or 3 months that I had joined that place. And the owner of that nursing home asked me to go and change her diaper because there was a bad smell. So I went. I tried to change that, and I was. I mean, when I was trying to change it, she felt so embarrassed. She was so
Yeah.
embarrassed that she literally pushed me back.
Hmm.
Literally
Hmm.
pushed me back. And so the others, the people who were working, the staff said that had she been told that why should diapers be used? Okay, it is for
Hmm.
her own benefit so that she doesn't soil herself and things like that. But she was never told, "Aapko pehna hai, you have to wear it." That means you have to wear.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
if older adults are made to understand why they need to be doing particular things, then maybe it makes sense to them as well. But if you just order them around, then that is not the way to go.
Yeah, that is true. I think that's very true. That's always misinformation and lack of
Right,
information about these things.
right.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
conclude with. You'd like to conclude with a couple of thoughts? I think Dr. Prem shared a couple of tips in the comments for people to go through. You can always look at that.
I have. Can I see it on the chat box?
Yeah, I think it's in the
Yeah.
comments. Somebody was asking about supplements, so he's recommended sleep, and he's also recommended healthy lifestyles and calcium and vitamin D for bone strength. And I think a lot of people seem to have enjoyed the session. Thank you so much. We really
Thank
thank Dr. Prem and you. Thank you so much.
thank you for inviting us. Thank you,
Pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
thank you.
The end of today's session. I would like to thank the audience for being with us, staying with us through the session, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We're hoping to have the other exercises from the Brain Gym activities up soon on one of our social media websites as well. Meanwhile, I hope you guys practice whatever was discussed today. I really hope you enjoyed it. And for tomorrow, we're going to be having a session on to find out more, actually, I'll just tell you to go look up what's happening tomorrow on our social media pages. It's going to be on the Adata Trust YouTube channel. And I hope to see you guys there at 4 p.m. And it's going to be fun. Thank you guys for joining today.